I don't care if it's Bitcoin or it's XRP or it's gold or it's silver or it's platinum. Whatever it is, the one thing about the metals and the cryptos is they're liquid. You need liquidity to be able to do it, but just by leaving your money in dollars, in 6 months, if you had $1 million in gold and $1 million in cash just since the beginning of the year, your million in cash is worth 890,000 purchasing power. Your million in gold is worth 1.4, 1.5 million. So that's the difference. In just half a year, it's going the complete opposite direction. Gold is up 40%, right. The dollar's down 11. So, but this is a trend that will only accelerate. If, and look at Stephen Miran, who is now on the Fed, and he's the architect of the Mar-a-Lago Accord. A weaker dollar is what they want. This is just beginning. You could see the dollar go all the way down to 70 on the index, and if that happens, you'll see gold and silver higher than you can imagine. But when you see companies like Goldman Sachs saying $5,000 and $4,000 by next year, no matter what, I mean, they have been saying this all the way up. Right now, and I would expect today to be a little bit of a pullback because the non-farm payroll numbers come out tomorrow, where they always try to paint that in a certain way. But right now, the futures, let's look at the futures. The silver market futures are down a bit at 41.29, and a lot of people think that it will go that high or higher once it is revalued. And revaluing gold, remember, the most important concept to remember when you talk about gold revaluation is that it's not about revaluing gold per se. It is, but it's about devaluing the dollar, which is the whole idea behind being able to sell manufacturing goods. The pegging of gold at a much higher level to the Treasury allows us to bring everything back with low interest rates. It allows us to keep the back end of the Treasury market cheap with low interest rates. Yes, you have to buy the gold, or if you already have it, if the government has it, they just hold it. They have to deliver it at some point, but all of the demand for those treasuries won't cost the government any borrowing costs. So if you have zero coupon on those bonds, redeemability in gold down the road, then all of that borrowing, which will fund the ability to bring back manufacturing, is at zero borrowing costs. Yes, they have to deliver the gold. So what? If they really do have it, and all of this reshoring is part of that, then that's okay. The stablecoin passage of the Genius Act and all of the companies that will issue dollar-based stablecoins, synthetic demand for the Treasury instead of organic demand, that's what funds the day-to-day of the government. So now you have the ability to bring back manufacturing inexpensively, to sell it through a weak dollar. Everyone's trading in their local currencies, and maybe you got a way out where your GDP starts to really pop because you're making things again and putting people back to work. And to me, it's the only way out I see. The long-term average between the two, the ratio, for the last 100+ years has been about 45-1. 70-1 is way higher than it should be. It's coming out of the ground at 7-1. If we took 70-1 right now, just take $3,550 divided by 70, it's $50. Right now, silver at bare minimum should be 50, at bare minimum. 20% higher than its average for the past 100 years and 10 times higher than it's coming out of the ground at. This is all a function of central bank suppression, which is ending. Why is it ending? Just this year alone, in September, 42 and this is just in the first few days of the September contract, which is not a delivery month for September. Some months are, some months aren't. The ones that aren't are typically quiet. They still take deliveries, but a primary delivery month, silver, is not September. 42.1 million ounces, or 1,308 tons, just in the first week or so of the September delivery, has been delivered. 42.1 million ounces. Now, if any of you have ever held a mint box that's 500 ounces and know how heavy it is, imagine holding 42 million ounces. That came into COMEX just this month for September delivery. Who the hell's doing this? Where is it going? I mean, who's got the foresight to do this? In gold, it wasn't as big, but 267,200 ounces, or 8.3 tons. Who is bringing all of this metal into the United States? Do they know something we don't? Now, let me tell you, the amount of sophistication it takes to do this and wealth is extreme. The fact that no one on the mainstream is talking about it tells me that this is a much higher up strata where the people doing this are connected. They know what's coming. They know what is coming, as far as I'm concerned. You have silver right now with another 200 million ounce deficit for the 5th straight year, where demand for military and AI and green energy is creating a permanent floor under the price of silver, especially when you now inject into it reclassification as a critical mineral. These are places, and the U.S. government is telling you they're going to stockpile it. They sold their strategic stockpile years ago. They have to go into the open market to make eagles. So this should tell you that the government is telling you we're going to put a floor under the price of silver. We need it. It's now critical. By the way, platinum is critical too. And the interesting thing is, if you look at the most shorted commodities in the history of the COMEX market, number 1 is silver, number 2 is platinum. Number 3 is gold. So that there's 8 Western banks that for the past 20 years have been suppressing the crap out of silver, number 1, the largest concentrated short position in the history of the COMEX market. Silver,
can they do it
platinum,
forever?
gold.
No, can they do it?
Could have. They could have. But now the rest of the world has caught on. And the rest of the world is sophisticated and coordinated. They're now doing things cooperatively. They're motivated. And they understand that this is the Achilles heel. But they do things in a manner whereby they're not going to...
But they act in a way whereby they're not going to move so quickly that they collapse the markets, and then they fail. They'll proceed just quickly enough through constant and repeated delivery demands. These exchanges, these agreements, have delivery systems that fewer than 1% ever stood for receipt. And now we're witnessing enormous handovers. That's how you succeed. You succeed by taking delivery. And that's what all of these nations are doing. The sovereign investment funds and the monetary authorities, that's what we're engaged in now, because we recognize that they're executing it. They could have maintained it indefinitely. The only effective method to influence a market over time is to drive it in the direction that it is heading. And when you consider China, Russia, India, and Saudi Arabia, all of these nations, Saudi Arabia has always been aligned with the West, and these other states were not affluent or advanced or united or driven to accomplish this. India and China were underdeveloped most of our lives, and now all at once they're prosperous. They're organized. They gather and they declare, this is occurring. Let's drain the exchanges. And I repeat it repeatedly. The grain exchange, the man who's responsible for it, the BRICS grain exchange stated, we consume and produce more grain than they do in the West. But with the establishment of the BRICS grain exchange, that will shift. They comprehend what we're accomplishing with all the other raw materials too. That's why the Chinese acquired the London Metals Exchange, the fundamental metals, all of the copper and the zinc and the lead. They're purchasing everything that would be strategic for the future. So no, we cannot accomplish it when there's that much appetite, that much affluence, that much unification and standing for receipt. Never transpired before like this. It is now, it's developing. So the restraint, Sarah, it's approaching an end. No, there aren't many individuals who have the bravery to state what you declare. And you're correct. I do believe, when I began stating reset, I was saying it in the framework of Klaus Schwab. I'm like, not going to occur. And the more you investigate it, and this is beyond Klaus Schwab, it's mathematics. The system has to reset. It's the Western framework. And you examine world reserve currencies going all the way back to the 1400s, and each one has about a century-long span. Well, we're beyond that at present. And so I would just plainly declare that, the typical figure really is 50 years. We're well beyond that. Something has to transform. And you can observe not only by the unity worldwide, you can notice it by the measures here of our own administration. And the remarkable point is, all of which I regard to be perhaps the most vital piece of knowledge, is all the bullion that's entering COMEX. It indicates something far greater, as gold is a tier 1. It has been reassessed by the most influential financial institution in the world. Silver is now an essential mineral. Platinum is now a vital mineral. You witness all of these handovers occurring across the globe. You have the head of a Japanese exchange asserting, there is no platinum in London or Switzerland, yet they're still exchanging 3 million ounces a day for receipt. All of this evidence tells you we are on the brink of it. And you're accurate, it is hazardous. It is alarming. But let's merely declare this, and I'll keep emphasizing it. And I assure you that every week from this point forward, there will be so much material to discuss. Sarah, this is only commencing right now. I will just plainly say, if you're not a contrarian, then you're going to be a casualty. It's time to grasp that storing in dollars is what we all once did. It is the absolute quickest route to go bankrupt. Period. I don't care what your instrument is to conserve in. If it's, this is the entire matter. Assets sustain you, liabilities consume you. And the richest individuals in the world, due to the Cantillon effect, all of their holdings or all of their fortune predominantly is in possessions. And over the last 50 years, examine what asset valuations have accomplished and examine what dollar worth has done at the same time. $10,000 50 years ago was valued a great deal more than it is at present. But examine any of the possessions that you have retained for 50 years. What has transpired to their worth? And that's the lesson that you ought to absorb from all of our dialogues. Do not keep your fortune in dollars. Instantly begin to think beyond the conventional and begin to examine what the greatest money in the world is accomplishing. And that is to abandon the dollar and to acquire physical possessions in your own control.
Don't forget to like our video and subscribe to our channel. Your comments are very valuable to us. Please make a small comment.